goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Brian, John, and Elaine.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Cottington, joined by fellow co-hosts and filmmakers, John and Lane Woolscroft.
Wait, you hate this podcast? I love it.
Wow. Thanks, John, for setting me up completely and not being... I don't even know.
I was looking at you because you're the only other person in the room. I wasn't directed at
I was going to say,
okay.
you actually are the only other person in the room.
I don't even know what's happening. I don't know what's going on.
You seriously are the only other person in the room, so...
Yeah.
I mean, there is a snoring dog on my shoulder.
You know what? I do tend to forget that Archie is there.
If you
now
hear
that we're
snoring,
social distancing and living in quarantine land, I don't have him like right between my legs trying to bite my XLR cables.
It's true, and
you got to let it go, bro.
And
I'm not. He's an adorable doggy, but
he is adorable.
He owes me an XLR cable.
And I am being the laziest
I know
sack of garbage, and he's laying on me right now on the couch. So if you hear snoring, dear listeners, it's Archie. It's not me. I promise.
Yeah. So we're in episode 177, and this is going to be another fun one because a couple weeks back we did movies that we hate that everyone seems to love.
The rest of you sons of bitches seem to love.
And surprisingly, that's actually got a lot of traction. That episode actually did fairly well.
Yeah.
It creates a lot of conversation.
It does. It does. So
conversation starter.
Yeah. So this week we decided to do the flip side of that.
The flippity flop.
And look at movies that we all absolutely adore that most of you all pretty much hate with a passion. I don't know if it's a passion. I think it's just overall dislike.
Yeah, I looked at for mine. I looked at like box office numbers, general reception, both critical and audience, like that sort of thing. So
mine, a lot of mine are like I have a kind of a mixed bag because they're ones that I definitely have the nostalgia feels for.
Nice.
But then at the same time, like I know they're just really bad. Like really,
we all
really
have those
bad.
nostalgia
That's
movies,
funny.
you know?
Like the ones that played on HBO nonstop in the 90s.
Woof.
I think to this day, my sister secretly in like somewhere in her basement has like a folded up Fern Gully poster. She can't let it go. Like,
oh man, I loved
she
Fern
loved
Gully
that
when
movie
we were
as a kid.
kids.
That
I'm like,
a lot of
that
people
is-
did. A
Yeah.
lot of people love the Fern Gully stuff, and like Fievel Goes West. Which
Oh,
funny story. I actually worked for the guy who was the voice of Fievel on one film shoot.
Dude, that's
pretty
amazing.
cool.
Yeah, his name was Phil Glasser. Really nice guy. And he was like the producer on an indie film called Gearheads, and I got hired on to be a grip. And really, like one day we're sitting at lunch, he's like, I'm the voice of Fievel, right? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
That's amazing.
I didn't believe him until I looked up on IMDb. I'm like, holy shit, he is.
That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Very
Very
cool.
So
All right.
I don't know how we're going to go down this. I picked 5.
I did too.
But do we kind of want to think about like why do we think that these movies, the ones we're picking, that we love, like what are the reasons why we love them, and maybe that most people don't?
Well, John and I talked about this a little bit, and I think like one of the reasons why some of the movies maybe failed when they shouldn't have in some of the cases. And I have one of the examples of this on my list that I'll get to later. But some of these were mismarketed.
Oh, yeah.
We think. And we talked about that. John and I talked about that pretty freely.
Mismarketed, misunderstood, but in some cases, it can just come down to taste. Something can just tickle my pickle, but everybody else kind of goes, "That was dumb." But
wow,
I'm so glad that we got into tickling your pickle early in the episode, John.
You just painted a visual right there that I don't need to ever. No.
When do we
please.
not talk about tickling?
I mean,
pickle?
the Serial Mom episode, we talked about jism and all sorts of stuff. So
there were so many things that we should not have
fluids.
discussed in that episode. That was
so many fluids.
That was intimate.
So many fluids.
That's why when I
was a fun
tell
one.
people at work, I'm like, don't listen to my podcast.
You know,
Please don't.
I've had people who have at work have they ask me, like, especially because we've been doing Zoom meetings, so they see my setup and they keep remarking on the setup. They're like, man, Brian, you have a really good microphone and setup. I just had a little laptop. I'm like, well, I do podcasts on the side. Oh, what's your podcast? And I have to think.
I'll tell you later.
I'm like, do I want to say what
I'll
it is?
slack it to you later, and then you never do.
I end up telling them, but I just say, I'm like, listen, this is outside of work, Brian. This is not at work, Brian. There's a very big difference. Outside of work, Brian is very crass and vulgar.
Oh, yeah.
At work, Brian is only crass. He's not vulgar. So,
Yeah, I did send it to one coworker recently, who I trust, and I said, you're going to get to know John real well, real fast.
Yeah. My actual boss actually listened to the show once because
that's amazing.
He was like, oh, let me listen. I'm like, just so you know, you've known me for 8 years, so you already know my personality.
That's really funny.
I'm like, just get that. So you listen to a couple. He's like, oh, they're pretty good. Yeah, but I definitely, funny. Just getting back to this, I think that marketing is a big deal. I think just maybe not reading the lay of the land. I think that some people kind of get caught up in with what the trend is, and then the trend just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I've looked at movies that have failed, and a lot of them seem to be that they're trying to follow the trends that are established by movies that are popular. I have a couple on my list that very much followed kind of a specific superhero trend that came out of the late 80s, early 90s, and they just bombed. Doesn't mean they're bad movies. They couldn't live up to the trend. I also think nostalgia definitely plays into it. I think some of us,
I agree. A couple of mine are like
what
that
John
too.
was saying, definitely some of them, they're just ones you grew up watching. I watched a lot of these on HBO and Cinemax and Showtime. Sure. So, if they're playing, 5 times a week, and that's the only thing you're watching, you're going to really like them.
Yeah, and I think it has a lot to do with, like, what age were you introduced with these things? And I know that is nostalgia in many ways, but, Brian, you and I both agreed when, probably, 60 episodes ago or whatever it was when we did really that awful Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah.
I had mentioned that this was because of the video rental store. This is the first one I saw, and it was the first one you saw. So we kind of as kids fell in love with it. Yeah. But I imagine maybe if I saw the first one when I was 23 years old, and then 5 years later or whatever it was when the second one came out, and I was 28, had to do math. I might have been like, oh, this is crap. This is just a rehashing of the first one, but not as good. Blah 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 blah. But yeah, because I saw it first, and I was a kid, and it just the thrill of renting a videotape. Yeah. Maybe that did affect in color. Some of these choices. I think also like genre and niche films. Those are often turnoffs for most people, and they have a very select audience that. Those fans are rabid, but most people on the outside maybe aren't into those films as much as the rabid audiences.
Right. So with that said, do we want to start diving into our list? I picked 5.
Yep.
Nice,
do you all have 5?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, and I will forewarn that some of mine are I'm either talking about a whole series, like they're a franchise. Or they're kind of like a split. So you could take that as, well, that's not really 5. But, fuck you. I have a podcast and you don't.
Wow.
Shots fired.
Eat an entire bag of Brian's
nearly
y'all.
9:30 at night. So
it's my podcast and you can suck my balls.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So which one of you all want to go first?
Well, since there was awful dead air there, I'll go first.
Okay, fine.
I don't want to be greedy.
Fine
about
there.
it.
No one wants to be greedy.
Go ahead,
All right.
John.
Yeah, and
Dazzle us.
Okay,
I'll be doing 5 to 1 here.
Okay.
But my number 5, and this one is a little, I would say controversial because it does have a handful of audience in the cult sense, but critics didn't like it, and I think a lot of people just think it's a pile of crap. But I love Demolition Man.
Oh wow, John, that's awesome.
You know what? You picked a perfect time. I didn't think that this would be the episode to perfectly bring that one up. Because did you hear that they're making a sequel to it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, they just announced it.
I think my phone is reading because I think I wrote Demolition Man as one of my choice, and then it's like Sylvester Stallone says he's making another one. Like, why are you?
You know what? I also love Demolition Man. It's not on my list. But you know what? There's just something about all of the goofy characters. Wesley Snipes steals the show. He literally is the best part of the show. You know, and you've also got what's his face? I forget what the name of it. The comedian who's in it.
Oh, Dennis Leary.
Yeah, Dennis Leary,
who basically probably didn't have any lines. He just did one of his.
He just did
shticks.
his shtick.
Yeah.
And
I want to eat red meat right off the cow, pal. I want to drink whiskey, and I want to say fuck whenever I want. Okay.
So funny.
I want to put my whole body in red jelly and run down the street. Why? Because I'm an American. It's like, okay, buddy. Like,
yeah, I really think that this is
extreme.
If there's ever perfect casting, it was Dennis Leary as one of the super drawers. But I mean, I do get it because Sylvester Stallone movies outside of the original Rocky, he's kind of a joke as an actor, and most of his movies that he does.
Shame on you, Judge Dredd was amazing.
Oh, that's fired.
But and I mean, if you buy into the premise, you'll enjoy it. But I mean, it's a little absurd, and it's a little weird that it's only 30 years into the future or whatever, and people are like, oh, I heard of that back when people were able to swear and smoke cigarettes. Guys, it was only 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's 1990,
Yeah. Yeah.
But
that's definitely a good one. I mean, Sandra Bullock, I think, is the weakest link in that whole film, though.
Yeah, she hadn't found her.
She hadn't found her sea legs.
Yeah. She hadn't found her seashells. Yeah.
I hope we learn how to use them in the sequel.
There will have to be a scene in which they quite literally say, all right, let me show you how the 3 seashells work. I always imagined it was they're scooping the shit out of their asshole.
Wow.
Well, the thing is, I don't understand. You'll find these Reddit articles how the 3 seashells work.
No one knows.
Guys, the whole point is that there's no
entire
logical way that you can wipe your ass with a seashell, and that's the joke. It's just a joke.
The entire point.
You don't have to reason.
And here's the other thing too. Perhaps in the 30 years or 40 years in the future, they lost the ability to have an asshole.
Oh,
yeah.
Look at you.
Maybe there was an atomic war, and because of the atomic war, they lost the ability to have an asshole. No one knows. No one knows. It's ridiculous.
Goodness gracious me.
But yeah, great pick there, John. Good pick.
Thanks. Yeah. Number 4 here. Now, these 2 brother filmmakers can be somewhat hit or miss. When they hit, they hit. When they miss, they miss. But I don't understand why everybody thinks this one was a huge swing and a miss. That would be the Coen Brothers movie, The Lady Killers.
I never saw that one.
Oh man,
I'm terrible. I know. I never.
I
saw
think
that
I think it's hysterically funny. I think Tom Hanks is good.
He's really good.
I think Marlon Wayans is really funny in it. I don't understand the hatred this movie had.
Does it really get a whole lot of hatred?
Yeah, it's up there with there's there's 15 beloved Coen Brothers movies. There's 2 or 3 or maybe 4 that people are like, oh, I don't like that one. That this is one of those ones that I think their type of humor is very polarizing to people.
It is. It's very. It's almost dark comedy. Half. The time.
Yeah.
It is kind of dark.
It is very much in that dark comedy vein. But the difference is they don't go over the top. It's not the Death to Smoochie level or Cable Guy level of dark comedy. It is kind of sophisticated dark comedy. I immediately think of the comedic scenes in Miller's Crossing, which is an intensely dramatic film, but has some bizarro scenes in it, like the one guy who's screaming.
What, John Turturro?
No. The big the boxer guy.
Oh yeah.
He's just screaming for no reason. I'm like, so what the fuck? Oh, it's a Coen Brothers film. Okay, well that makes sense.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, there are certain movies that these guys do, like Barton Fink and Fargo, and oh, I want to dissect this movie. I'm going to write my NYU thesis.
Did they do
paper on the
Hudsucker
paper.
Proxy?
Yes.
Okay, because I love that movie too. That's not on my list, but I think that's also another one that kind of gets the shit stick from them.
Yeah, and it's similar to Lady Killers, but I think because people like to dissect their work so much that when something comes out like this and it is really just surface level silly, there's nothing deeper to Lady Killers than what you see on the celluloid. I don't know. I think that people are just surprised. It doesn't. it seems a little bit below the Coen brothers, but that doesn't mean that I think it's a bad movie.
And it's insanely quotable. We quote it all the time.
Really? So do you think maybe it's just that the audience is so used to kind of deeper Coen brother films, and then they get this, and they're just like, "What the fuck am I supposed to do with this?"
Well, I'd say this with my list, like look, if you disagree with me, I get it. I'm not saying that I'm right and dear audience, you're wrong. Like, it's just a matter of
No,
taste.
I did that a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, you told everyone to eat a big bag of your
somebody may come on and be like, John, here's 20 reasons why lady killers suck balls, and I'll be like, okay, I could feel that.
Yeah.
But
right.
but here's where I don't know if I'll lose both of you. But number 3 is Halloween 3: Season of the Witch.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah, you lost me.
I've seen that movie 7 fucking times because I'm married to this man. So
Not
surprised.
The funny thing is, like, we reviewed Halloween 3. We had Tom Atkins on the show. Well, you had Tom Atkins on the show.
Tom Atkins is amazing.
I just did an intro for it. I honestly, I don't care for Halloween 3. My wife, who is a big Halloween fan, she's like, "Oh, that's the one that doesn't have Michael Myers. Fuck that movie." I'm like, "Wow, that is pretty a lot of anger there."
Strong words.
But you know what? I kind of can understand, because it was unusual to do kind of that idea of, you build up 2 movies that have a central character in it, and you with Michael Myers and even Laurie Strode and all those other kind of ancillary characters, and then the third one you completely divert from that formula. I mean, I've always said that if Halloween 3 wasn't called Halloween 3 and just called Season of the Witch, that it would probably be more popular than it is.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think you said that on the episode.
I think I probably did. But I mean, I understand why you love it. I mean, you have a silver shamrock mask that I think almost got stuck on your head when we did that live show.
Dude, he has all 3 of them.
And a T-shirt.
This movie actually reminds me so much of John, so
Tom
I think
Atkins
that's why I'm so fond of it. It just reminds me of John at this point.
Well, why do you love this movie so much?
So I will say this. I think a lot of the reasons I like it is probably not for the best reasons. It's so deliciously 80s, and it's so of that era of movies, and I do love the cornballness of it. I do love the outrageousness of it, and the 80s violence and cheese and camp, and so I wouldn't go so far as to say I like this movie ironically like you do Birdemic or Neil Breen movie. I love those movies because they're so stupid, but I somewhere in between liking it for the right reasons and that, somewhere right in the middle, I just love the how 80s this movie is, and it just tickles my fancy. I won't say pickle this time.
Equal parts ironic love and actual love. It's kind of beautiful, John.
I think I kind of get what you're saying, just because it is extremely over the top. I mean, Dr. Dan is an alcoholic.
He's either drinking or smoking or fucking. That's all he's doing, or punching.
I kind of respect the shit out of that.
Yeah, what are you doing today? Well, I thought I'd go to the bar, get a 6-pack. Then I'm gonna go smoke some cigarettes, and then I'm gonna go fuck an android.
I love that
sounds like a typical Tuesday to me.
It's a Tuesday. What's a
I love
Friday?
that he calls his wife, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to pick up the kids. I got called into surgery or whatever," and she's all pissed off, and he's like, "Hey, honey, I got to go," and he hangs up the payphone, grabs his 6-pack. He's like, "Well, you got to have a roadie. You know what I mean? He's got to get drunk on the way there."
Apparently,
everybody knows that if you're driving an automobile, you must have at least 2 beers. One you're drinking and one you've got after you're done drinking that one.
Dude,
I'm very against drinking and driving, most especially at the same time.
Maybe I shouldn't admit this, but when I grew up in Edinburgh, which is 2 hours up north from Pittsburgh, and when my dad, he grew up in Canonsburg, and we come down sometimes to do a weekend together, and come down to Pittsburgh, and my dad would get a 6-pack, and we just sip beer on the way down, and we're glad he never got pulled over.
That's called alcoholism.
Yeah, that's just and I was underage too. We were just sipping beers, and that's just the old generation. What you do is you don't be drunk behind the wheel. What you do is you drink while you're driving, so you're drunk when you get there.
So many laws being broken. I'm glad the statute of limitations for those is probably over.
It's probably over.
All right. What's next on your list, you delinquent?
All right, so I think I have a reason why everybody hates this movie, but I feel audience, please don't simultaneously roll your eyes all at once. You'll destroy the piping. Is Crash.
Oh,
That's a hot take.
I don't get why everyone fucking hates this movie so very much.
like I remember when that movie came out that everyone like praised it and said how awesome it was, and then it was one of those movies that just kind of sat around and rolled around your head, and it won Best Picture, right?
Yeah, and I think that was a part of why everybody got so upset, because like Brokeback Mountain, was the same year, and that movie. It's so shameful to say like how groundbreaking that movie was, like two guys kissing and stuff. But
what in like 2006?
Yeah. It was
2005,
4 or 5 somewhere around there. But yeah, the fact that this movie beat that, I think everybody was like hated it at that point, because like, oh, the Academy's too like scared to give it to a gay movie. This one makes it feel good because they're saying like how racism's bad. They protect themselves.
So brave.
But a lot of people too are like, every scene in the movie has like a racist thing or a racist person in it. I'm like, well, that's kind of the whole point of everything.
That's the point. It's supposed to be that these characters are dealing with race in their own kind of individual way, and you're getting different points of view. The only thing I could say is that I do think in multiple viewings that some of the story structure and some of the characters are kind of stereotypical.
Yeah.
And not quite three-dimensional in certain areas.
They did go to a lot of the lowest common denominators.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of, now we didn't really think much of it at the time, but there's a lot of white savior shit in this movie.
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
Especially like the Matt Dillon character and stuff like that. And yeah, it's when you have multiple characters and you got the movie's like 2.5 hours and you got like 9 different stories going on, you gotta get things really quick, because there's basically short stories, short films, and so you gotta like take the nuance out and just get right to it.
Makes sense.
And I think a lot of people were like, this is just kind of over the top, silly.
It is. It's not. I would say compared to more modern takes on racism, it definitely is a little over the top. Like you compare this to like Get Out, and I was watching the Twilight Zone, the new Twilight Zone series from Jordan Peele, and there was an episode in there called I think it's called Replay, and it deals very much with racism, and the nuances in that are presented are much stronger than kind of the stereotypical stuff you get in Crash. That's just my point of view on it.
All right, and number 1 here, if anybody doesn't like fight me, it is not only do I think this is an amazing film, I thought it was the best goddamn movie that I saw the year it came out, and I don't get why people don't get it. That is Starship Troopers.
Oh, I love Starship Troopers.
It's so fucking good.
I love that movie so much.
What I don't understand is how people get the satire in RoboCop, but it flies over their head 90,000 miles above their head for Starship Troopers.
I think it is because it kind of presents a glorified look at fascism.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's glorified. I think
it's completely glorified.
But it's like they're not winking at you saying like, we know this is bad. Like, it's a bold way to do satire, because they're not making a joke. Like, like when I saw RoboCop when I was like 4 years old, I didn't get the humor. I just thought robot cops were cool, know?
Yeah.
And so like you have to actually think what is funny in Starship Troopers
I honestly, I think that right there is the reason why that movie is not as popular. Keep in mind, it was marketed as the next Star Wars. Yeah, I remember that one, and Battlefield Earth were both marketed as the next Star Wars. And I think the minute that you say you are the next Star Wars, you've just quite literally obliterated any bar that you could even remotely get to.
Yeah.
Because even if you said, well, this is a sci-fi film, and honestly, if they didn't say they were next Star Wars, they just said, hey, we're a sci-fi film that's got, we're fighting bugs, and we're fighting, we're in space, and there's spaceships and all this shit. If they said that, I think it probably would have been fine. But it's the fact that they said, oh, we're the next Star Wars. It's the death knell. You can't say that. You just
They
can't.
should have said, we're the next Star Trek 4, the one where they save the whales. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
fair.
But I also love that movie, John. Anytime it's playing on TV, well, I don't have cable, but when I did have cable and it would play, I was absolutely watching that. That one and RoboCop both are amazing. You've got great characters. I love not the general character, but the teacher who loses an arm.
Yeah.
Rat cats, roughnecks.
But the funny thing is, the movie is based on a book that is like promoting fascism.
Yeah.
And when Paul Verhoeven and his whole crew got it, they were like, well, what if we kind of did a similar thing, but we flip
Parodied
it, and that the idea is that like this is horrible.
Yeah.
But we weren't so obvious about it. And people are like, oh, but the acting is so bad. I'm like, that was a brave choice, because the idea is that like, of course it's horrible. This is supposed to look like a propaganda movie.
Yeah.
So Casper Van Dien and Denise Richards, I'm sorry, but you guys were cast because you suck. And like,
I have no problem with Denise Richards being in the films.
I don't have any problem with her being.
Oh,
Or
thank
what's
you.
her face who played Dizzy in it? I have really no problem with her being in the movie at all. The
Also,
redhead,
yeah. Like, oh, the cinematography, it's so flat. That is purposeful.
That's purposeful.
Yeah, everything in this
That
movie
is purposeful.
Yeah. And at the end of the movie, when Neil Patrick Harris is like, they're afraid. It's like, oh, look, they're going to get humanity. They're going to realize that these bugs are creatures with souls, too.
No.
They're like, yay! It's terrifying. Let's kill it. Yay!
Yeah. That's a good one.
That's
But,
a good list, John.
It's a really
Thank
good
you.
list. Solid list there.
All right, well,
Okay.
do you want to make yourself useful, handsome, and flash me my list? My phone died, and I sent my list to you right before
Okay.
it went.
I was going to say, what are you flashing?
And normally I'd be fine, but good Lord, it's been a long day.
All right.
All right, so flash me that sucker. Okay,
That
that's what I thought.
sounds really bad.
That's what I thought.
I'm just saying right now.
It's so
Lane-
big, it's so long.
Oh, God.
I was going to say, if I flashed Lynch, you would have to get her magnified.
No,
All
but
right.
just the
There
fact
it
that you're
is.
saying, flash me that sucker. And it's like, oh.
It's bigger than I remember. It's so
I need
long.
to get off the line right now. It's
So meaty.
apparently date night.
So meaty.
2 inches of raw
Every
power,
night
baby.
is date
You
night
ready for
in quarantine.
the most average 4 minutes of your life?
Oh, I can't wait. Okay.
All right, what do you got?
So for my list, I will start. I'll start pretty tame and work my way up. I got it. I just want to make sure I remembered them all because, like I said, it's been a long week. So for my first one, I'm going to go for like the nostalgia factor. So my first one is A Walk to Remember. And
Yeah.
I'm usually not a big Nicholas Sparks kind of gal normally because I don't like jizz myself over The Notebook like a lot of my contemporaries do. And hey, I'm not hating on anybody. Like I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people who love that movie. And don't get me wrong, the first time I watched it, yeah, I cried like a fucking bitch.
Isn't
whatever.
A Walk to Remember the one where like the guy is in love with the dying chick?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
and actually
that's the only one I knew.
Well, and this is interesting because
Yeah.
this was the first thing that I really started to change my opinion about Mandy Moore on.
Okay.
Because she, I wasn't really that into her music when she first came out. I have an unhealthy distrust of blondes. I have discovered.
Really?
For
Take
some
that,
reason,
blondes.
I just I don't trust blondes very easily. It's weird. But her music wasn't really my thing. And then she played like a bully in The Princess Diaries when we were younger. And then when I saw her in this, it started to change my opinion of her. I get why people don't like it. It was very saccharine,
I loved her
very
in Saved.
schmaltzy. Saved is like that's one of those
That's-
movies that like we should do one where movies you haven't seen and you should.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
such a good
definitely.
movie.
It's a little up its own ass, but I do.
I
like
don't.
it.
I
care.
don't mind. I don't
I
mind.
don't mind it either.
But anyway, for A Walk to Remember, one of the things that I looked at for my list is this didn't make any fucking money, and it did not have good reviews. So, but I do know a lot of people that like own this movie on DVD or secretly love it, or and I was actually joking with my coworkers today because I told them about the episode how we were recording tonight. And I was joking with them. I was like, dude, if this is on cable during the day, like that's my afternoon. Like I'm done. I have to
Like
watch
most
it.
people, Goonies or whatever. Like you just shut shit down. And
Yeah, man, I shut shit down.
I gotta
so-
watch my Mandy Moore.
And two, I really like Shane West. He's not in a lot of stuff, but there's just something, like he's not like the typical teen heartthrob, you know. He's like a little bit different of a character and like as an actor and stuff. And I always thought he was like, you know, cool dude. So he's my pick, or that movie's like my first pick.
Yeah. Sorry to leave you out in the woods there, not to say much. I never saw that movie.
Oh, it's okay.
I
mean,
honestly, all I knew was that it was.
It has it actually has a lot of
girl.
good. It has a lot of good music in it too. Actually, the soundtrack's really good. Some of it is a couple Christian bands. Because the the character of Mandy Moore, she has like a very strong faith. In a way that's not scary, like in Saved. I am filled with Christ's love. Oh my God! If you haven't seen Saved, go see Saved right now.
Filled with Christ's love. Okay.
Yeah, seriously. If you've seen Saved, you know what that means.
It also stars 3 times shutting my ass down, Macaulay Culkin.
Oh yeah,
Wait a minute, he shut your ass down a 3rd time.
Yeah, he won't come on the show.
I keep bothering them, man.
Hello.
Matt's gonna take another pass.
Every time it's my turn to do a list, you
I'm
guys
sorry,
always
Lane,
talk
but
about
come
other
on.
stuff.
Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, okay, so I can just eat your dick too. Okay, great.
No, don't.
I can just suck it too.
Quarantine. You can't be eating dicks.
My God. Oh my God.
You might get some COVID in the juice.
You guys are the worst. Okay, so anyway, so my second pick is super fucking random. I'm sure you guys will have never heard of it.
Okay.
The movie is from 1996. It is called Mrs. Winterbourne.
No,
Sounds so familiar.
It stars Ricky Lake, Brendan Fraser, and Shirley MacLaine.
That's a good cast.
That sounds so familiar.
It was directed by Richard Benjamin, who, good news, directed Mermaids in 1990, which is one of my also favorite movies. It's
Bette Midler movie?
And Winona Ryder. And Christina Ricci, she's like 6 in it. She's so fucking adorable in it. But bad news, he also directed Milk Money in 1994.
What's wrong with Milk Money?
Milk Money's good.
Yeah.
That movie sucks ass.
No.
You guys are
No.
blinded by the titties.
Yeah.
You mean Ed Harris's titties?
Anyway, the point is Mrs. Winterbourne. It's a case of mistaken identity. I think it's based on a French story, something about I married a dead man. And what happens is Ricky Lake is escaping an abusive relationship, and in doing so, she boards a train. She meets up with the only other pregnant woman on the train. Ricky Lake herself, her character's pregnant, and she meets up with another pregnant woman on the train. And her husband, Brendan Fraser, is like taking care of her and like goes and offers to give Ricky Lake like a drink or something, and the wife is just like joking around, and like they she lets Ricky Lake try on her wedding ring or engagement ring or something, and then the train crashes, and Ricky Lake and her unborn child are the only survivors of the crash.
Wow.
And so she's taken off to like Brendan Fraser Manor. I can't remember his character's name.
Isn't it Fraser?
Fraser.
Fraser.
Is it Fraser?
I thought it was Fraser.
So he's they're whisked away to this like beautiful stately home. Shirley MacLaine plays his mother. And
He got it from all that mummy hunting.
And then then Ricky Lake comes into this like palace to see Brendan Fraser, and it turns out that one of them is named Hugh, and I can't remember which one, but it turns out that the man that she met was twins.
Oh.
And so she has like the shock of seeing like a man she thought was dead and all that stuff, and it turns out to be a case of mistaken identity where they think she's his fiance. I think it's fiance, and thinks that that's their Shirley MacLaine's grandchild and all this stuff. It's just a sweet story, and then she ends up falling in love with his twin brother, and of course, as your past tends to do, catches up with her and all this stuff. It's just sweet. I have a soft spot for Ricky Lake. I think she's likable as hell. I think she's really good in this, and Shirley MacLaine could do whatever, and I wouldn't give a shit because I love her. But yeah, this also made no money. It was not very well received, but this is definitely something that like I could make either a cup of tea or a cocktail for me and my mom, and we could just sit down and just watch this like anytime, any place, like no problem. Like this is like a mom and me movie. Like it's one of our faves.
Guys, this is 2 weeks in a row of Ricky Lake references. I kind of love it.
I dig it. Yeah, and her show would have been on when this was being filmed and stuff, so it's pretty cool. So that's another one of mine. All right, so I think we're gonna have to start to get into the embarrassing ones. Can I see the list one more time, John? When to
do
start us
another
off
flash.
slow. When to start us off slow, slow burn here.
Okay. What you got?
Okay, so another one of mine, and I can't explain it, but I really love American Pie 2.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of American Pie 1.
I know, but it made so much money, and you know what's funny? Okay, so the first one, obviously, we know the plot. They're all going to lose their virginity by
fucks a pie.
prom and blah blah blah.
He fucks a pie.
Yeah, and there's like not a lot of consent, and like it has a whole shit ton of problems.
The pie did not consent to having the dick in it.
Yeah,
all.
well, neither did the foreign exchange student.
No,
who they like secretly
Did you see what the pie was wearing,
It has
though?
fucking
The pie
problems.
was destroyed.
It has. There's real people that they did not have consent either, Brian.
I'm well aware of that. I'm really
worried
feeling
about the
for the
pie.
pie.
Oh my god. Anyway, but the overall theme, and I found myself really relating to the Kevin character in this one, and he's the one that dated Tara Reid's character.
Mm-hmm.
Is that he's trying to recapture the past, and he's trying to stay back in time, like he's trying to make things like it was when they were in high school, this first summer back from college and everything, and at the time I identified with that, of wanting things to not change and wanting what was good to stay the same. So that was something that kind of stayed with me back in the day and everything, and I still have a soft spot for this movie. It also has a great soundtrack, which is also embarrassing because it's really an embarrassing soundtrack. There's a lot of Sum 41 on it.
Yeah.
Oh, remember them?
I do remember them.
Right?
I think now they are 41.
It's really bad. They probably are. It's really bad. So that's really, really, really embarrassing. But yeah. So that's one of my movies. I mean, don't get me wrong. This movie still has a ton of fucking problems.
I was gonna say, was all that challenging stuff that you just mentioned, was that before or after Jason Biggs glued his hand to his dick?
Oh my god. Well, no, don't get me wrong. This movie's redonkulous.
How many of them did they make?
I think
4 of them?
4.
4.
I think
And the
4,
last one's like American
4,
Wedding?
Well, they made it like 4 official ones. No, they did the reunion one.
Oh, wedding and then
4
reunion.
was
Yeah,
reunion.
they had
And then Thunderball.
Yeah.
And then, and
No,
then Her
but
Majesty's
remember
Secret
they
Service.
had like a bunch of spin-offs. Like they had American Pie, like The Naked Mile or some
Oh,
shit
I guess
like
so.
that.
Oh, yeah, and
Yeah,
Eugene
some of
Levy
that
made
stuff.
sure he got everyone of the
Yes.
checks.
Yeah. Well, why the fuck not? I would too.
My favorite is when Stifler says to Jason Biggs's character after the like dick and the super glue thing, "You're the only person I know whose dick needs a manual." I always thought that was a funny line. But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. This movie had problems and it was ridiculous. But I do remember being really excited when it came out, though. I saw it with my 2 best friends in the theater, and I remember being really excited.
Well, I will say, enjoy American Pie 2 on the check-in on J-Dub's Video Nasties.
Dude, I'm sure it doesn't hold up very well.
Yeah.
But
I was gonna say, are you actually doing a
But
check-in?
I feel like
Well, I'm doing American Pie, the first one. I'm sure the second one will
I
find
feel
its way
like
in
the
there.
second one isn't as bad as the first. I could be wrong, but I feel like it's not as bad.
It's still
All
pretty
right.
bad.
All right, so I'm working up to the crescendo.
All right.
This one, I feel like you guys will agree with me. I just recently saw it, loved it. Don't understand why people hated it. Just saw Jennifer's Body. I thought it was fucking hilarious. I
Talk about mismarketing.
really
Yeah.
liked it. I really thought it was good. And this is one of the ones with the mismarketing that we were talking about. This was definitely not given its due. It should have been marketed as a comedy because it was fucking funny.
Yeah.
And I thought Megan Fox was really good in this. You could tell she got it. Like she understood what was expected of her.
Well, I felt
thought-
bad. Like the way they marketed this movie, it almost was like, yeah, it's a sexy movie.
It's a boner comedy.
It's a boner,
a horror boner.
No, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was ridiculous. They definitely did her dirty on this. Thought Amanda Seyfried was also really good
Yeah,
in this.
yeah.
They did a good job of trying to like quote unquote ugg her up when she is a very beautiful woman, but
It's hard to do that.
it wasn't easy.
I
But
think. Oh, sorry, Lynn. I think that any movie that's not a romantic comedy that's marketed towards women, I think young white males have a hard time not accepting the fact that maybe a movie is not meant for them.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, you mean Jennifer's Body is a horror movie that's for mostly a female audience? What?
right.
What? Imagine that.
Being written by Diablo Cody. I mean, like, yeah, it's definitely for women. Please, let's have this. But yeah, I love that movie. And I can't believe it took me so long to see it because I thought it was absolutely awesome. Really enjoyed it. And yeah, don't know. It's such a shame that people didn't like it and haven't seen it because they need to. It was awesome.
Well, then didn't the studio wanted, I think, Megan Fox to go into like porn, like video chat rooms and stuff like that to help market the movie. Like,
did they actually want her to go to porn
gross.
video chat rooms?
Yeah, like I mean, like the
Gross.
client, like Pornhub. You know what I mean? Not like you know, Tommy's bookmarks. You know.
Oh, good.
Hey, what's wrong with Tommy's bookmarks?
Oh, wow. You guys know way more about porn than I do.
Let's do a little side journey. I always loved in social studies class telling like not more naive kids, oh, go to whitehouse.com.
Oh God.
And then, like, you'll find out some stuff about the president. Oh, okay. And then in the school computers, they're just titties splash on the screen. Oh, I'm going to get in trouble. The police are going to come after me. I'm like, calm down.
or in college when you would just, I don't know if you guys ever did this, but like we for a while were just telling everybody to go to meatspin.com or setting like their web browser's homepage to it. So the minute that they would open it up, it'd be nothing but like, big
yeah,
dongs.
I'm aware of that helicopter cock.
Wow.
Good for that gentleman.
Good for them.
Again, I feel like my list
and the one
was
he's sitting
hijacked
on.
by Dick. All right.
Of course.
All right. Well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad you guys got it in when you could because I'm coming in for the big finish.
Okay.
and
Oh my God, Brian's
Brian's not going to be my
prepare
friend
yourself.
anymore. And John gave me so much shit for this. 'cause
I
he said
needed
no
a few
one's gonna
days
listen
to
the
actually
show
prepare
anymore.
for this. So
Okay.
Brian, please, I hope you're sitting.
I'm sitting
All right.
down.
Batman and Robin.
Double sigh. I think half the audience just turned the episode off. Thank you for those that stuck around.
I like that you're like yoga breathing over there, Brian.
I don't even do yoga. Okay.
I know,
so-
but you're doing yoga breaths.
Okay. So
I'm just gonna snuggle my dog.
So, Lane, why do you like Batman and Robin?
Is it the nipples? Is it the Bat credit card?
Is it the Brat credit card? Is it the
Uma
Poison
Thurman's
Ivy?
acting?
Is it the ridiculous characters? Please explain.
Chick-
It's like I don't even fucking need to be here because all y'all do is just talk
No,
for me.
no, please. I want to know.
This is the first Batman movie I saw.
All right, sorry.
Okay,
I'll
okay,
chill.
Okay. No.
Yeah.
This is the first Batman movie you ever saw.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair
all
enough. Fair
Mhm.
enough.
Okay.
Nothing like having two neckbeards mansplain to you why your feelings are wrong. This is delicious.
No. Truthfully, Lane, I completely get it. I really do.
It's the first. I mean, it's the first Batman
it's the
movie
first
I
one you
saw,
ever saw,
and like, I definitely knew. I mean, we were really pretty like young when this came out.
Yeah, it was 97.
Yeah, we were like 12, and it was pretty. We were pretty young, and like I knew the movie had problems. I just didn't realize that was a thing. I guess I just didn't realize that like movies could be shitty. I didn't realize that like movies could let you down yet.
Like at that budget too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but I really liked Uma Thurman. I really liked, because we were like that, like Earth Crusader kind of like generation where it was like, pollution is bad and save the planet. And I did like that spin with her character. And I really loved Alicia Silverstone at that time. I was like primo age for her because like I was obsessed with Clueless at that age. And because and a funny story actually about Clueless, the first time I watched it, I didn't realize it was satire. And
Really?
I was like, this is stupid. I was like 10. And I was like, this is stupid. And then I saw it again and I was like, oh, it's supposed to be funny. I got it now. But anyway, I loved Alicia Silverstone. I loved like the gadgets and the outfits. I didn't notice the nipples because I was pure of heart.
What about the cod pieces?
Yeah, or the
didn't-
bat ass.
I didn't really notice that stuff either. I thought butts were funny.
Butts are funny.
At 12,
Wait,
I thought
they
butts
are.
were funny.
They are.
But you know what pissed me off?
And-
The guys had the cod pieces. Why did she not have like a bat vulva on her costume?
John, is there any chance I could just finish talking about why I like the fucking movie?
If there was a bat vulva, I would have finished. But go on.
Oh, come on. Come on.
I'm just going to snuggle the
She's
dog.
gonna-
You
she's
guys
gonna
can leave
beat
me
you.
alone.
She's going to beat you.
Just
Okay,
leave me
so
alone.
So Lane, I completely get.
And the
why
last
you
thing
like
I wanted
that.
to say,
yes, please do.
is that Arnold Schwarzenegger is having such a good fucking time in this movie. You have to honor that kind of energy. He is having a blast.
I think that Arnold Schwarzenegger is the only person having fun.
Damn straight.
And he's
He's
the only
having-
one
I will
really
give him
trying.
that.
He is fucking funny in this movie, okay? I know he's terrible. It's terrible. He's terrible, but he is so fucking funny in this movie. It murders me. Dude, it murders me. It murders me. He's so funny in this.
Well, see, the thing is, everybody else in this movie, they've done much better work. So you're just like, okay, they were clearly phoning it in. Arnold is trying his hardest.
And he's having a
God bless
blast.
him.
He's having a good time.
To be fair, Arnold is this is 97, so
Yeah.
he just got off of Jingle All the Way, which did not do very well. He's done True Lies, which was moderately better, but before that he did Last Action Hero. So yeah, he's just happy to be there.
I'll be in a new Batman movie.
I can
Biggest Batman movie of all time.
And I'll tell you what, at 12, I wanted a a snowflake necklace, like Nora Freeze's necklace. As a kid, I thought it was so beautiful.
Here's the problem I have with that movie, and I'm assuming that we'll eventually get to a Batman and Robin really that awful.
No, we'll do Pantheon of Utter shit if you guys want.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because John was like,
it'll
we're
be a
doing a Pantheon of this,
Okay.
right? Like, John isn't nice to me just because we're married. Don't worry about that.
Well, listen, I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. And,
I appreciate you, Brian.
I know. I appreciate you too. So the point is that I lost my train of thought, but the movie, I get why you liked it. I mean, at the time that it came out, I even was like, "Oh man, another Batman movie! Wow, I want to see this." Until I saw it, and then I was mad, very mad. Like it just whatever illusions you could have from Batman Forever, I think that goodwill just runs out with Batman and Robin. Because it just takes all of those goofy things and just amps them to 11.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
would
the
agree.
problem. Like, I think we said this in the Batman Forever episode, that there are moments when we're like, okay, this is something cool. And then it's guilty of really just kind of crashing those good things into a wall.
Right.
Whereas Batman and Robin, at least for me, just kind of feels like we never even get to the good moments that get crashed into the wall. It's
Right.
just continually crash into the wall.
Well, I would. Oh, sorry, bro.
Oh, go ahead.
But I would say, like, Batman Forever, like, if you really like the 60s TV show, like, Batman Forever is a nice balance between, it still fails, but the nice balance between, like, what Burton had set up before and the TV show.
Yeah.
If you smush them together,
Yeah.
I still think it stinks. But, like, if you like the TV show, that works. But, like, Batman and Robin almost seems like a cynical person who hated the TV show, like bitterly mocking it, but at the same time making something so unwatchable that it hurts your balls.
Certainly
You feel
hurts
the pain
my
in your
balls.
balls. Yeah. No, I respect you, Lane, for saying Batman and Robin.
John
Late
said that
too.
you would never talk to me again.
No, I said our audience would never talk to you again.
No. Listen, these are movies that we personally love that everyone else hates.
Listen,
So
I
everyone
own
else
this
could be
shit.
me and John, okay?
I owned this shit on
I
VHS, y'all.
I did too, because I didn't pay to go see it in the theaters. That's the thing.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah, we were
That's
on. Here's the
funny.
thing: we were on vacation at the time when it came out in theaters, and so we quite literally when we left and this just tells you how bad that movie was. When we left, it had just opened in theaters. When we came back 2 weeks later, it had already left theaters.
Wow. That's bad.
Yeah, good list. Did you have one more, or is that it?
Nope, that's it. That's my 5.
Lane, I would
Okay.
say that, like, if I'm drunk, I do love this movie because it's so fun to laugh at.
Things you
Yeah.
want to watch when you're drunk make me so sad.
Okay. So here I got my top 5, and I kind of have them in some kind of order. So I'll start with my number 5. Now, I will be the first one to say that this movie and a lot of this type of movie have not aged very well at all, like really badly. But I loved the movie Loverboy from 1989.
I don't think I'm familiar, Brian. Can you tell me about it?
Okay, so this movie, it always played on HBO all the time. And honestly, if you don't know the name of it, you probably know the premise. So the premise is a college student played by Patrick Dempsey, who...
Yes.
Okay, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Do.
So
this is Dempsey and his like skinny, chicken leg face.
Yeah. So he's a pizza delivery boy who
God.
gets turned into an escort.
Yes.
And
I did see this on
Carrie
HBO.
Fisher's in it.
Yes.
It's so bad. But
That's
I
so
love it.
cool.
I love
Brian, that's awesome.
Yeah, and the reason why I say that it has not aged very well is, I mean, the pizza place he works at is called Senor Pizza, where everybody literally is wearing like Mexican mustaches.
Oh,
You know,
that's
he's
not
driving
good.
around in a Jeep with a sombrero on top of it, and he's just having sex with women left and right. And the thing is this doesn't make any sense because the whole time in the movie, he's like, "Oh, my girlfriend Alex is gonna leave me, or my girlfriend's gonna leave me, and so I'm gonna just have sex with all these women." And she finds out, and she just forgives all of it.
Whoa.
Like it really doesn't make any sense at all. But it always played on HBO all the time.
That's
and
funny.
I just
I think that's where
remember-
I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's kind of where I saw it, and it's very goofy, like really goofy. Like there's a scene where he's having an affair with a Japanese housewife to a guy who's like super rich, and the guy who's super rich basically he's a racist asshole, who's just kind of using his Japanese connections through his wife to get rich through little robot toys that he's selling. So like there's a scene where the husband's coming home and the little robot toys are like going off as Patrick Dempsey's trying to escape.
Oh my
It's
god.
so goofy.
Oh
Shit.
my god, that's amazing.
Yeah,
now
and
I want to watch it.
It's so good. And he almost does kind of have sex with his mom
Ew.
in the movie.
Oh.
Like
Back to the future
he-
style, baby.
Well, what happens is like he accidentally gets, because the call sign for him to go for his escorting through his pizza delivery is extra anchovies.
Okay.
So the mom's friend says, "Oh, if you're looking for a good time, call this number and say you want extra anchovies." And of course, it's the son who shows up, and he's like, it goes nuts. But it's really goofy. It has not aged very well at all. But if you're looking for kind of a good 80s sex romp, Loverboy is a good one.
Excellent. I think we should check it out.
It's not a Porky's.
Hashtag boner comedy.
Yeah, it's not a Porky's. So it's not like that level of ridiculous. It's a little bit more
good.
sophisticated.
For the refined palate.
For the refined palate. Okay.
I think we need to get pizza though, John.
Yeah. Apparently, why would you want you name your pizza place after a Mexican? Like that just doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. No one knows. It just happened. Senor Pizza. Why would you call it that? Makes no sense. But anyway, next on my list is another. This was a early '90s little film that I don't think played anywhere. I think it literally just came out and then just went like direct to HBO or Showtime. I think this one was on Showtime. But the movie Freaked from 1993.
Huh.
I think I remember the box art, but I don't think I ever saw it.
Okay, so the movie is extremely ridiculous. It stars Alex Winter of Bill and Ted fame, and Keanu Reeves plays a dog man.
As you do.
Okay, he plays a dog man. This movie is quintessential 90s cheese. So if you remember, and our friends or our fans who lived through the 90s will understand this, there was a certain aesthetic to the grunge years, I'd say basically 92 up till about 99. There was this very kind of weird MTV, kind of bizarro aesthetic to everything where almost it was cool to be gross. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we had gack everywhere. So I think that gack literally shaped the graphic design and just idea
slime
of everything.
chic, if you
Yes.
Brian, I just looked this movie up. What the fuck is this thing?
Oh, okay. So the movie is about a Hollywood actor played by Alex Winter who might have co-directed this film.
will. What?
Okay. He's an asshole. Okay, and he basically gets on a road trip with a feminist and some guy who's just tagging along with the feminist to kind of get in her pants. And they end up stopping over at a freak show run by Randy Quaid. And they get turned into hideous freaks.
What?
Randy Quaid has
you
this
definitely had me at Randy Quaid.
Oh yeah, and this is
in.
like a preview of what Randy Quaid would be like years later.
Oh my God, he turned into real life like Cousin Eddie.
Yes,
it's so sad.
Yes, but that's literally is like the freaks in here. You've got Alex Winter has like a two-face humpback thing going on. Okay, who else in this? Oh, you've got a frog man. You've got a man who literally was turned into a giant worm.
Ew.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought was like a giant penis. With
you also,
on
it's not a penis. It's a worm, man. You've got a guy who was turned into a cow. He's a cowboy. But
does Randy Quaid turn into anything?
No, he does think towards the end turn into a monster. But yeah, Keanu Reeves is in this, and Mr. T.
Oh.
Mr. T plays, and this is again, it has not aged very well.
So this movie turns into literally has everything.
No, I got it. Well, what does Mr. T do?
He turns into a man woman.
Oh no!
Yeah.
I'm a maid lady. I got boobies.
No.
yeah. It has not aged very well. No. But if you kind of accept that and accept the time that this film came out, it's a funny movie. It really is.
Nice.
But Freaked. I'm surprised, John, you've never heard of this.
Yeah, no. I mean, I just started looking up the images because I was like, while you were talking, I was like, oh my God, there's a giant dick and a frog and a werewolf. Like, what the fuck is this movie?
That's amazing.
But yeah, I'm really surprised. Mr. T seems like he values himself like a legit badass in real life. Like, now T, we're gonna have you have boobies. I don't know, man. I don't want no boobies, fool.
Well, he's called the Bearded Lady, and it's Mr. T as a bearded lady.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my.
But great film. Definitely check that out. Okay, so number 3 on my list. This is again a franchise.
Okay.
It is not one movie. I mainly said this because you could say the first movie's good, but then the other ones are not so much. But I love the series, and that is Darkman.
Oh, Darkman.
Okay.
You like the sequels?
I do.
God bless you.
I do. I love Return of Durant. Because,
what about Die Darkman Die?
Oh, I even love that. You know why? Because fucking Jeff Fahey is in it. And that man is amazing in everything. If you're going to get a villain, why not get the Lawnmower Man? But they're completely ridiculous. And I mean, God bless Sam Raimi. I'm surprised this movie does not get as much. His first original one, I'm surprised it is not loved nearly as much as some of his other work, like The Quick and the Dead. But Darkman, if you're looking for what would happen if you combined Batman with horror, you would get Darkman, and it's great. Liam Neeson is psychopath in the film.
Liam Neeson's pretty great.
Yeah, but his range in this is kind of like he goes insane.
Oh,
like
that's
there's
exciting.
a scene where it's the famous one in this film where he's with Frances McDermott and they're at a carnival, and the whole thing with Darkman is that half of his face has been burnt off.
Okay.
So he's a scientist who somehow got caught up in he was basically at the wrong place at the wrong time. His girlfriend is a lawyer and had a document that basically ties her boss to this organized crime figure played by Durant, basically. And the whole point is that because of this, Liam Neeson gets kind of made an example of. He's a scientist who's working on synthetic skin. His face gets blown off, so he decides that he's going to use his research to kind of build this skin and also get revenge. And the whole thing is that the skin that he builds, for whatever reason, it's unstable after like 99 minutes. So after 99 minutes, it starts to like turn to goo. Okay.
Ew.
So what he ends up doing is he ends up like creating these faces of the people in the organized crime. Even like becomes Durant and does kind of like sneak in espionage and try to all that sort of shit to try to like bring them all down. But there's a scene where he gets his face back. Again, it's still kind of not perfect. It still only lasts for 99 minutes.
Right.
And he's at this carnival, and his rage has like gone crazy because
wow.
of being blown up. And he he has a confrontation with a carny who basically is saying that he really didn't hit the bottles down that they missed, and he like goes nuts and rips off and like bends back the carny's fingers.
Ew.
And it looks like rubber.
I have a very specific set of skills.
Oh no, there are no sets of skills. He just kind of kills them.
Wow.
And he's like, "Give me the pink elephant." And he's like, you stepped over the line. I want the pink elephant now." And he literally goes through a rage explosion. And it's
Horrifying.
brilliant. The sequel's not nearly as good, but still pretty good. It's got Arnold Vosloo in it, so this is before he became the Mummy in the Mummy series.
Oh.
But they're fun. They're fun. They're a good time.
Nice.
Yeah,
Love it.
yeah.
Love it.
The third one is the most ridiculous of them all, because the second one they bring back the Durant character, the main villain, and you're like, how did that happen? And you thought he blew up in a helicopter smashing into an overpass, but apparently he's alive, and working on building super guns for some reason. Whatever. Okay, we'll go with it.
Hey, if Shredder's allowed to live, so can every other villain.
And the third one is Jeff Fahey as a mobster. And it's kind of ridiculous. He finally gets his skin to work, but then he gives it up to a little girl who got burned.
Aww.
Because the Dark Man has a heart.
Aw.
Yeah.
Touching.
So, yeah, the Dark Man series. Okay.
Cool.
Number 2 is a split, and the reason why I have it a split is because they kind of came out with the same kind of time period and same kind of genre that they were trying to hit. And that's The Shadow and The Phantom.
Interesting. I'm not familiar with this either.
Okay, so
so the Alec Baldwin movie
Yes.
and the Billy Zane movie.
yes,
Okay.
yes. So The Shadow, I love for the setting and time period. I think if you're going to take something like a pulp comic, not pulp comic, but a radio show from the 30s and turn it into a movie, that's pretty much the best way you're going to do it. With The Phantom, I don't know what it is. I think it might be the villain that I love in The Phantom. If you've never seen The Phantom, the Xander Drax character, played by Treat Williams, is one of probably the most manic villains in film history.
Brian, I'm right there with you on The Shadow, man, but I don't know about The Phantom.
Okay, come on. Goes 2 walks. There is no fourth skull.
I will say this, though. Billy Zane does make my hetero heart like quiver in confusion. He's a good-looking man.
You know what? The only
Good
the
to
only
know.
negatives I have against The Phantom are 1, the CGI, and 2 is the acting of everyone other than Billy Zane and Treat Williams. Kirsty Swanson should not be in that movie. She's useless in the film. Like, literally, she does nothing.
But she's purty.
But that's the only reason why. Catherine Zeta-Jones, this was one of her first roles. Really not. Yeah. Okay.
Whatever. She makes me confused,
I mean,
too.
That's Entrapment we're talking about. We're not talking about this movie.
Oh, in that movie, like that scene where she's like going under the lasers and they cut to like creepy old Sean Connery like checking out her ass. At first you're like, Sean, but then you're like, oh, well, actually, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
How can we be mad?
How can you can't be mad. But the and now it's creepy Michael Douglas is watching her. But my point is that those characters are a victim of the writing. They just were not given anything to do. I do like kind of that goofiness that the Phantom gives. I just think it really failed in execution of certain things. I think the marketing didn't work for it because it was trying to pump it up as something other than it wasn't. I mean, it really wasn't made to be kind of a big blockbuster, even though they tried to make it that way. The Shadow, honestly, I think if Alan Baldwin gave a shit, then it'd probably be better, because there are moments you're watching and you're just like, I don't think he gives a shit about this. I don't really think he cares that he's
there
there.
were entire decades when that dude didn't give a shit.
But he really didn't, and he should have, because I think if he did, then the movie would be really good. Like I
Right.
loved what the hell is that? The movie where him and Anthony Hopkins are in the woods.
Into the
No, it's not Into the Woods. It's the fuck is it?
damn it.
The Edge.
I know.
It's The Edge.
The Edge. Yeah.
Okay, so I love The Edge. That's not on my list, but that's another Alec Baldwin film where he did try, and I don't think he tried in The Shadow. I just think he kind of saw it as, oh, this is just for kids.
Alec Baldwin is like the Randy Orton of acting, and for
He
all the
really
wrestling
is.
fans, that was for you. Everybody else, you're like, who the fuck is Randy Orton?
Oh my God, that was your wrestling reference for the episode. Nicely done.
You know, Genghis Khan being the villain in The Shadow, really good casting for him. I love the idea of, you know, kind of using the mystic arts almost to kind of hide who you are, and he does kill people. He doesn't care. So I mean, like, you know, there is that.
That whole 30s mentality, just shoot the motherfucker, like, you know, like Batman originally was, but like the first like 50, 60 comics of Batman when it first came out, he just took a gun and shot motherfuckers.
That was probably a Bob Kane. I think that was a Bob Kane thing. Like Bob Kane didn't give a shit. He was like, yeah, he's gonna have a gun. Why not? But
you don't have to be the world's greatest ninja. If you got a gun.
Just, yeah, you go ahead and you do that. I'm going to shoot you.
Just the world's greatest detective.
But I also love the fact that the Shadow doesn't work alone, that he has agents who kind of work with him. And that's something I think that is kind of different from other superheroes at the time. Nowadays, it's kind of, we're used to that. I mean, you look at something like the Arrowverse. I don't know if they're going to call it that anymore because the Arrow's canceled, but you know, they have kind of that support structure in place for the main superhero, and I think the Shadow kind of started that for that particular film. But
yeah, that's cool.
You know, you didn't really have that with like Batman or Superman. All right, so number one on my list, and I think John, I might have mentioned this one to you before, and this is one out of my love of ridiculous comedy and goofball horror, is the 1992 classic Nothing But Trouble.
Oh man.
Well,
like, dear audience,
you hate this movie, I know.
Brian and I have gone back and forth on this because I think Brian was originally like, we should do that. It's really that awful, and I was
we
like,
should.
oh, you mean a pantheon of other shit? He's
No.
like, and Brian went deathly pale, like, no, fuck you, dude.
amazing. Remind me, guys. I know
It was
I've heard of
91,
this.
not 92. I'm sorry.
Remind me, what is this,
Okay,
guys?
so imagine.
Okay, Brian, please explain this movie. Please. I want to know what it's about.
Okay. So let me set the stage for you, dear listeners.
Excellent.
It's 1991, and the top comedians at the time are Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, and John Candy. Okay, that's where we're at. Okay, if you want to talk about comedy, those are who you're going to. Martin Short's in there too, but you know, every once in a while he pops out.
He's Canadian.
He's Canadian.
Martin Short, yeah, I mean, at any time you can throw Marty in
Well,
there.
Dan Aykroyd's Canadian too. So, but my point is that the big scions,
So John Candy.
yeah,
Sorry.
the big scions are Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, and John Candy. So if you grew up at that time, and that's the kind of humor that you're exposed to, and you hear that there is a movie that is going to have all three of them in the movie, okay?
And a penis nose.
I didn't get to
It's that movie, isn't it?
Yes,
I knew
it is.
I knew it.
Yes, it is.
I knew it.
And it's going to have all three of them in there.
Aykroyd directed?
And yes, Aykroyd did direct this. It's going to be directed by
so.
Dan Aykroyd.
That's what I
And you
thought.
watch it, and it's about basically a businessman and his rich asshole friends getting stuck in a backwoods town called Vulcanvania, and they basically get held prisoner by a penis-nosed, ghoulish judge.
Brian,
And-
this movie upsets John unless I miss my guess.
Oh, I'm just watching your face because I've seen this movie like 5 times. for
I've
some
seen
reason.
it like 20.
So I want to
Okay.
I just want to get. I want to
I'm
gauge
aware.
your
I'm
response.
Okay.
fully aware
Oh,
of
as
this
Brian
movie.
explains.
But-
No,
So-
I'm fully aware of this movie,
Yeah.
but I've heard John talk about this movie on occasion, and I think it truly upsets him.
Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. But let's also go here. Okay, so it's a courthouse run by a ghoulish judge, played by Dan Aykroyd with a penis nose. You know, John Candy is playing a woman as well as himself. Okay, as kind of the grandsons of the judge character.
And I remember they're like greasy little chicken McNugget inbred freaks, right?
Yes, there are two
Chicken
grandkids.
McNugget.
There are two grandkids that are played by Dan Aykroyd, and I forget who the other actor is who plays him. But yes, they're kind of these Bobo and Little Devil, who are fat, greasy man babies. Like literally, they look like man babies. Like if you were to go to a Tex Avery cartoon and find a man baby in it and pull it out into real life, that's exactly what you would find.
Way to put it.
It is. You did mention the penis nose. That does happen, and it's hilarious. And on top of that, the judge kills everyone he brings in through a weird machine called Mr. Bone Stripper. And it basically, it's like a weird ride in his backyard that ends up, it kills Daniel Baldwin. Like, we're talking about Baldwins, it kills him on the spot.
This is the love child of Tim Burton on acid and the creator of Ren and Stimpy. Like, that's what this movie is.
Oh, it's so good. I love the movie so much.
That's your number one. That's hilarious.
That is my number one because everybody hates it, and I love it. That's really funny. Do. Oh, and there's also a musical number in it by what the fuck name is it? Something Underground. It's a rap.
Velvet Underground?
No, not Velvet
right.
Underground. Tupac was in the band at the time.
Right.
Tupac.
Yeah, Tupac.
I don't know. I don't know my early '90s rap as well.
I don't either, and I'm probably gonna get shit for it because I did say this was one of my favorite ones. But either way,
every detail.
I can't remember every detail. I literally haven't seen this movie in probably about 10 years.
Guys, I think Tupac said it best when he said, "Hey guys, it's such a nice night. Let's drive with the windows down."
John.
Oh, come on, man.
How about no, Scott?
You can't say that. But yeah, that's my number one. Nothing But Trouble. Take another look at it. I mean, if you can just think about the time that it came out.
You can ignore everything about it.
Just, if you're looking for a coherent plot, there isn't one, okay? It's not that type of movie. It is something to just be experienced.
Wow.
Well, Brian, what about this as an idea? Forget Really That Awful.
Yeah.
Forget Pantheon.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll just do an episode sometime where you and I go back and forth. Lane, you'll moderate. And we'll just have a good old debate on this movie.
A long form slugfest.
You mean like a
maybe.
slugfest? Yeah,
a long form slugfest.
We haven't done one in forever. That would be lovely.
We'll do Duchess of Queensberry rules. We'll shake hands. Only a polite man's contest.
I mean, right now we can't shake hands, so I guess we do it digitally.
You could do it digitally.
Elbow bump.
Okay.
Digital elbow bump.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Fair enough.
Wow.
Good picks. Good picks all
Good
around.
lists, guys.
Yeah, I feel this is going to garner a lot of feedback here, just like the last time we did the other way around.
I mean, we might get someone who just comments and says, "Fuck you guys, you picked the worst movies ever."
I mean, that was the idea.
Hey, Starship Troopers sucked. You suck.
Wow. Evolved, guys. Excellent.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
With that said, Lane, where can they find you at on the Twitter machine?
You can find me at LA_Craft.
John?
If you were a true patriot, you can find me at Unreal J Wolves. Would you like to know more?
Good one, dude.
That's really good. You can find me at Brian Connington. I also run the Psycho Shows page. Be sure to like us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Psycho Show. You can also find us on the Epicast Network at epicastnetwork.com. If you have a favorite movie or question you want to throw away, or you too want to talk to us about your love of Dan Aykroyd with a penis on his nose, you can contact us at cinemapsychoshow.com. And make sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, and catch a new episode next time.
Nah, screw it. They all suck.
Nice. That's funny.
Epicast.